Hey everyone, it's Argonath here from The Right Way, and we got another story coming out of New Zealand about these left-wing people who feel they're not represented and they just cannot get ahead in life without seeing themselves represented in any form of media. So this is going around all around the world, and it's also happening here in New Zealand. So let's have a read of this. Eye-opening and inspiring. Young artist brings Afro-Latino culture to New Zealand. Not just Afro culture, or not just Latino culture, but Afro-Latino culture to New Zealand acting, because we don't have enough Afro-New Zealand actors. 27-year-old Kevin Souza has always dreamed of one day becoming an actor, even if he didn't see many that look like him in New Zealand. So the first sentence in this article is about representation, not about whether he could be a good actor or all the other great actors that have come from New Zealand before. No, it's just that he hasn't seen any people that look like him. So obviously he can't get in life. He can't get ahead in life because he isn't shown what it's like to be an Afro-Latino person in New Zealand. I've always been drawn to acting ever since I was a kid, he says. Being from Brazil, I feel like acting and performing in the creative industries is rooted in our culture. Music and art is a big thing in Brazil. Souza was born in New Zealand as of mixed Afro-Brazilian heritage. I was raised in Brazil. My mum's side is African descended, and on my dad's side we have Italian roots. I knew I was mixed, and I was always trying to find that sense of belonging. Well, maybe your parents should have stayed in that country and you would have had a more sense of belonging if that's how you feel in New Zealand. I mean, I'm not saying that you should go back there, but if you don't feel you're getting that belonging in New Zealand, maybe you want to go back to where your roots are. I mean, a lot of people have done that. He says that after moving back to New Zealand, moving back to New Zealand, so he went away and then came back to New Zealand in 2008. He returned to media for representation, but media didn't really have anybody that looked like me. Souza has now made history as the first Afro-Latino to be admitted to the Actors Program, one of the New Zealand's most prestigious drama schools based in Auckland. What? This is history just because of their race, right? It shouldn't matter what your race is. It should matter how good you are in terms of acting. And basically, all we can gain from this is, did he just get admitted to the school because of his race, or did he get admitted to the school because he is actually really good at what he does? Who knows? That doesn't seem to be saying. Now, in New Zealand, how many Latino people do you think are in New Zealand? I would hazard a guess to say less than 1% are Latino. Out of that, how many Afro-Latino person are in New Zealand? Maybe 0.1%. So of course you're not going to be represented in media because you're very insignificant in terms of the actual race that you come from, right? It's just the way it is. But no, you have to go bleating about it. And of course the useless left-wing media in New Zealand are all happy to make a bigger song and dance about this as well. There isn't really much reputation at all in New Zealand art sector for Afro-Latinos. As I said, how many Afro-Latinos do you think there are in New Zealand, Mr. Souza? Right? So maybe the representation matches the actual percentage of Afro-Latinos there are in New Zealand. That's something I really want to work on, because being here, I really feel how my ancestors have impacted me. I'm here because of everybody that came here before me. He says that he's always wanted to act so that people that look like me could see themselves on screen and in entertainment. Oh my God, that's the thing with all these left-wing nut jobs, right? Is that if you don't see yourself on TV, you can't relate to anything. That's ridiculous. I'm not white and I relate to amazing shows that have only white actors in it, because I don't relate to things like race. I relate to characters and how they behave and whether they kind of behave like me. I like to think I'm a good person, so I kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I kind of feel like these people represent me because of their actions and what they say, not because of their race. It's just absolutely ridiculous, right? I also write as well. Oh, good for you. I have a short film that I'm writing now based around what it's like to be African heritage in white spaces in New Zealand. I'm sure that will be a multi-million-dollar winner if you release it into the mainstream media. There needs to be more content documenting us and the culture we bring. There are so many cultures, and in particular large Afro-Latino Latinx community here. Is there a huge Afro-Latino community, or is it separately African and separately Latino communities? How many are actual Afro-Latino people, Mr. Sousa? Sousa says he lacks visibility and representation is something people of African heritage struggle with in Aotearoa. What is the percentage of African people? None of this is ever put into this article, right? Because then it would actually destroy the narrative. I'm not going to bother looking for it. If you're really interested, you could look for it if you really wanted to. I don't think they even record that in the census because the number of people is too low to actually record separately. I don't know how many Afro-Latinos actors here. I don't know many Afro-Latinos actors here because there's probably not many of them in the first place. I can name maybe 2. A lot of my friends have an interest in acting, but they don't think they can do it. Seeing me get this opportunity made them think they can. For me, being an actor is about representation. So what does it say about your friends that unless they see someone else do something, they can never do something themselves? That is just ridiculous, right? For me, being an actor is about representation, about healing the community and increasing visibility. What a load of crap. There's so many things that African descended people bring to New Zealand as a kind of unheard of. It's about saying, hey, we're here, this is who we are, what we're able to bring to the table, and hoping that will create more understanding and more acceptable and less ignorance. Now, I'm not white European, but I absolutely thank all of the amazing things that the European people have brought to New Zealand. Technology, science, all of that kind of stuff that brought to New Zealand, and it's made New Zealand what it is today, thankfully. Of course, other cultures and things bring things to the table as well, but New Zealand is mainly a European and then Māori country, and so it's as I said, it's good to bring some other cultures into it, of course, but don't bleat about it when the representation you're seeing is probably about the actual representation you deserve based on the actual numbers of people from your particular group. Although you don't even have to bring race into it, it should always be down to the goodness of your character. Susan says he started his acting career at Auckland Screen Acting School. I went to a taster for 5 days. It was very eye-opening and inspiring. What really intrigued me about the actors program is just how intense and how deep the work is. We do a show, we do a film, we work with different tutors in the industry, and for me that attracted me more than sitting down in the classroom and learning about acting. We're standing up in the room and on stage and learning. I wonder how many people actually make it through and can earn a living through acting. I would say not very much at all. He says over 150 people auditioned last year. He was only one of only 18 to make it through. Maybe that's because of your race, not actually because of how good you are, because that's pretty much what things come down to, right? We can no longer, if people do well, we can no longer think, was that because of how good they are, or was it actually because of what race they are? That's the whole thing that these left-wing people have brought to the table. Out of about 13 people at the callback, there were maybe 4 or 5 people of colour. I'm the only African descended one. Is that because the rest of them weren't very good? He says the cost to attend the school almost put him off accepting the offer of place until a private donation was made towards the school. Well, things actually cost money. Some things that these left-wing people don't get across in their thick heads, right? These things cost money because no one can do it for free. So, if you can get the money somehow, then that's great. If you can't get the money, well, don't bleat about it, because no one's going to do it for free, because everyone has to earn some money for their family and their living costs. The private donation covers just under half of my full course fees. The dean called me privately and said there's been a private donation we want to offer to you specifically. Obviously, it's probably because he got because of his race that they offered it to him, I would say. I don't know for sure, but that is my honest guess. I then started the Give a Little page to come up with the remaining amount. It's not about me and this opportunity, it's also about what it means to my Afro Latinx community. When performing Sousa, he draws inspiration from award-winning African actress Viola Davis. She's so powerful and raw. You just feel everything that Viola puts on the table, and that's something that I strive for in my acting. That authenticity and that boldness of bringing your own flavour and bringing your past and your ingenious ancestry to your work. Well, it probably depends on what role you're in and what it is that you're actually doing, right? Because if it doesn't call for maybe bringing that into the whatever it is that you're working on, then maybe you can't do that. After drama school, Sousa says he hopes to be booking acting roles. Well, good luck to you, mate, because I don't think there's that much acting work in New Zealand. If things are slow, oh, maybe you can get onto Shortland Street. I'm sure they're diversifying into all the different races and things now. If things are slow, I'll be writing, I'll be finishing off that short film. I really want to create a space for Afro-Latinos, a space where we can be creative and be ourselves and bring our cultural heritage and our ancestry and see how that inspires us to create. So basically, all they're saying is you can't get ahead of yourself until you see other people actually do it for you, right? Otherwise, there's no way that you can get ahead of yourself. That's just ridiculous. Whereas all of us conservative people know if you work hard and you go for the opportunities, you will do well for yourself. But for the leftists, it's all about, I need to see someone do it first before I can actually do it myself. And that is absolutely sad. That's what it comes down to for all of these people. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring this through. Another article about race. Basically, the left is completely dividing people down racial lines, and it's absolutely disgusting behaviour. And we can see the lefty mainstream media in New Zealand also doing exactly the same thing. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think I'm being very hard on Mr. Sousa? Very hard on these leftist people that think that they can't do anything unless they're actually represented and they see someone doing it first, and then they can go, oh, I can now do it because this other person is doing it. Oh, okay. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments section. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, you're welcome to give it a thumbs down. And if you like my content, please subscribe as well. Catch you next time.